Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and it is the month of July, so that means we got a lot of baseball to talk about. We got the Red Sox are playing well. Changes were made in Washington. You got the All-Star. They announced the All-Star, the rosters for the All-Star game on Sunday. But we got to start with the Yankees, and the Yankees were really, really struggling. They had lost 6 in a row going into Sunday. But on Sunday, they had Max Fried on the mound. They beat the Mets. They salvaged the last game of that series. They beat the Mariners last night 10-3 in a game where both Judge and Raleigh hit home runs. So last night, Yankees doing it with the long ball. You had Stanton in the 6th inning, Judge in the 7th. And then Chisholm got the RBI double to put the game away. Will Warren pitched really well. It was nice to get a good start from Will Warren. Yankees win 10-3. The big question is, are they turning the corner? Have the Yankees turned the corner these last couple games? Have they turned the corner? And I think it's tough to tell, but I do think they kind of have. I like the way the bats have woken up, especially and the bats. Let's just say, even throughout this losing streak, the bats have been there. The issue has been the rotation and the bullpen. The bullpen's been a major problem, but the rotation and the bullpen. This is different from their previous six-game losing streak where they weren't hitting at all. They were hitting during this losing streak. The problem was the pitching and the bullpen. So to me, I still am confident about this team. I still am. Now they're going to have to add pieces at the trade deadline. This team is not complete, but I'm still confident. Even though they're 3.5 games behind the Blue Jays and they still got swept, I'm still confident that this team could win the AL East.
Yeah. I'm still not. I feel like the team's not totally out of the woods because you mentioned it, the rotation bullpen. Like right now, you're banking on you have Fried. Rodon's had a couple of rocky starts in a row here. I'm a little worried about him. And then you got Will Warren and Marcus Stroman, who Will Warren probably still like a year ahead of schedule from even being like a major leaguer right now. And then Marcus Stroman, who they're trying to trade. So like that's your rotation with the month that you got coming up. I'm still kind of worried. And like Luke Weaver, he was supposed to be out for like 6 weeks. They brought him back in 3 weeks. He's probably not even healthy yet. And like his post game the other day, he said he doesn't even know like how, he doesn't feel like he's 100% yet. So I'm still kind of worried because they're really going to have to piece this rotation together. Like Cam Sitley, the guy's pitching tonight, the dude was in Double-A 3 weeks ago. Like, and so that's where I'm kind of worried still is they really need to piece this rotation together. And it's a tough month of July. So, yeah, it helps the All-Star break coming up and you can kind of but, yeah, I'm still a little bit worried right now with the staff. It helps that Jazz went back to second and they're going to put Peraza at third because that is going to help your defense, which has been a major, major issue. So, I'm still don't totally think they're out of the woods yet, but, it was a good start to the homestand, which, they need a good one this week.
It was, and you mentioned the rotation. You mentioned the rotation right now. They're going to have to get an arm. If they want to get back to the World Series, they're going to have to get another arm. And there's 2 things that are going to have to happen. They're going to have to get They're going to have to get an arm in the rotation, and they're going to have to get an arm in the bullpen. Those are 2 things that are going to happen for this team to have any chance to get back to the World Series. The third base thing, I like what they did. I know people are saying they need a third baseman, but I feel like you could live. You could live with your number 9 hitter being terrible. I think you could live with that. You can't live with having 2 starters you can trust, or having a bullpen of a bunch of guys. Let's be honest, right now you can't trust outside of Devin Williams. And Devin Williams, he got off to a bad start too, even though he's turned things around.
Yeah, and even like Sunday, Williams got away with that. Those 3 pitch to Renz, those were all balls, and he got away with it and had a strikeout. So, yeah, he's been better. But yeah, there's not many guys you trust in the bullpen. And yeah, you mentioned a starter, and Cashman's done this before. Now I would hope the approach with Clark Schmidt being out the rest of this year, he's going to probably be out all next year. To get a guy that's got like a year and a half left of control, like he's done that before with Montaz. I think even Sonny Gray, when they got him, had like a year and a half left, or maybe it was 2.5. But because you're going to need somebody next year for this rotation, and the expectations Luis Seal is going to start his first rehab start on Sunday. I know I talked about maybe throwing him in the bullpen. You're going to need him to start now because you're just you just need starters. So yeah, I'm with you. And like with Peraza too late in the game, because you're gonna have somebody off the bench that's a capable hitter. You can always pitch hit him and then have DJ come in and play the last couple of innings in the field. So yeah, it's just gonna be tough to get that third baseman. So it's that might have to be their approach the rest of the year. Or actually, Jeremy Carolina, I can't. Was with the Reds.
Candelario, the Reds guy.
Yeah. He's in the minor. The Yankees signed him a minor league deal. He strikes out a lot. He's not a great defender. He could hit home runs. He hasn't hit well this year, but I think maybe that's their solution if they think he's figured it out in the minors. So that could maybe be your solution. Maybe if they don't find that third baseman in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, that could be. That very easily could be. That very, very easily could be a solution. But yeah, I mean, listen, these last 2 games give you confidence that this team, that this team could very easily still win this division. Now I know Toronto can't lose, but and Tampa's going to be right on their heels, and the Red Sox have played well, even though we get to them. Even though I don't think they're as big of a threat without Devers, but we'll get to them. But yeah, I think right now. Yes, it was a bad 6-game lose. This has been a rough. It's been a rough month. The month of June was like it usually is with Aaron Boone. It was a rough month, but and things don't get that much easier for the Yankees because coming out of the break at the end of the break they play the Cubs. They got a 4-game series too with Toronto coming up, and then they got a series with the Phillies. So things are going to continue to be hard for the Yankees. But I like where this lineup is. I like where this lineup is right now. I think Dominguez, you saw him getting hot. Judge has obviously been awesome. Goldschmidt's starting to get hot. Still starting to get hot again. Stanton hit that home run last night. So I'm starting to like where this lineup is. It's just the improvement's got to be in the bullpen and in the rotation. Those things just have to improve. And on July 31st, they need to improve. Like I said earlier, they need to improve for this team to make a run.
Yeah, they absolutely will have to. It's tough because there's not too many solos right now where you're confident in like one of those guys having pitched. Zach Gallen's been really good the last couple of starts, but that's probably going to cost you an arm and a leg to get. And so many teams are probably going to go after somebody like him or Merrill Kelly, where it's going to be expensive. So you'll grab one of those guys. So yeah, we'll see. They definitely need they definitely need to get another starter. They definitely need to get another bullpen guy because yeah, it's because Cruz is Fernando Cruz has been a huge loss, and it's third time he's been on the IL already this year. So yeah, they need a couple more guys that you could trust late in the game because there's not too many guys in that bullpen right now. You're holding your breath a lot when these guys come in now.
Absolutely, and you saw many situations during that losing streak, especially with Luke Weaver. The home run he gave up to McNeil, the home run he gave up to Alonso in that Mets series. Then the Yankees, they were down 8-0 against the Blue Jays a week ago. They come back to tie the game, and in the 8th inning they end up blowing the game. Another home run Weaver gives up against the Blue Jays the night after. So yes, you're right about that bullpen. They definitely need help there. They absolutely need help there because you could argue everyone has struggled at a time. Like if you look at the rotation, Fried's been great all year. Rondon's been good all year. You look at the lineup, Judge has been great all year. Everyone in this bullpen has struggled at a time this season. Weaver's struggling right now. Devin Williams struggled to begin the year. Everyone has struggled at a time. So a bullpen arm is a must for this team come trade deadline time.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. Yeah, and I think around Major League Baseball, the bullpens are. You're playing. Dangerous game whenever you go to any of these bullpen arms. Feels like across the sport. You never know some nights what you're gonna get out of these guys. So yeah, tough. Like I can't imagine Baltimore would, unless the Yankees blow them away. Like I can't imagine they trade Felix Bautista to the Yankees. That would be somebody that would be very nice. But yeah, they guys have definitely gone through it this year. Independent, hopefully, like Luke Weaver, it'd be malpractice if the Yankees are putting him back out there and he's still hurt. And hopefully, he had the All-Star break and he feels better after that and starts to pitch better. But yeah, it kind of seems like everyone's kind of had the struggles at this point with the team in the pen, and get a hope, and hopefully too that with the All-Star break coming up, the couple of days you're gonna get off there is gonna help that bullpen kind of rest for a couple of days too, because I think they definitely need it where they've been taxed a lot, and with all these guys going down, they're just running out of options.
They are. They definitely are. They definitely are running out of options, and we'll see what they end up doing come late July. But with the Mariners and the Yankees playing this week, the big question is who is the AL MVP right now? Is it Aaron Judge or is it Cal Raleigh? I think it's close. This is no respect to Cal Raleigh. He's had a phenomenal season. I mean, 36 home runs. That's the most home runs of the All-Star break since Ken Griffey Jr. So he's having a historic season for the Mariners. But Aaron Judge has been awesome for this team. He's just been phenomenal, hitting 360s, first in average, second in home runs, and third in runs batted in. He very easily could win the Triple Crown. He very easily could win the Triple Crown with the season he's had. This is arguably he's had a great career with the Yankees so far. This is probably his best season because he's been great, average, power, defense. He's proven why I think he's the best player in the game. He's been absolutely but this team would not be in this position they are without Aaron Judge. So for me, no bias here as a Yankees fan. I am saying that Aaron Judge is the AL MVP.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Because Judge has been unbelievable. The average, 360 average. Who knows where they would be without him? And with Cal Raleigh, I think it's the most home runs ever hit by a catcher before the All-Star break. And what he's doing and helping that offense because they've showed at times as well here. And he's put it on display. And you don't really see production like this out of your catcher. So I wonder, if some voters maybe give him Raleigh more credit for that, playing that position. He plays it a lot. He doesn't DH a ton. So I do think Judge is going to win it, barring any injury, here. But yeah, he's been unbelievable. Cal Raleigh's having he's having an unbelievable year too. And we'll see too, because he's doing the home run derby. And we see at times like that takes a lot out of you. He catches a lot, he doesn't take too many days off behind the plate. So maybe the second half you start to see him cool off and maybe Judge kind of pulls ahead here. But Raleigh's having an unbelievable season. But yeah, I think with Judge doing with everything he's doing with that team and being right there, kind of pretty close to being on Triple Crown watch the last couple of months, that he should be the MVP right now.
Oh, without question, without a question. And listen, as I said, I appreciate everything. I think Raleigh's had a great year. I think he's carried the Mariners too. But to me, there's no question who the MVP is. To me, there's no question that for the third time in his career, that he should be the MVP. Was the MVP last year? Was the MVP in 2022? It was be a third MVP in 4 years. That is just absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a ring. There's other reasons for that, but still phenomenal. And to me, Aaron Judge is to me, he's the greatest Yankee I've ever seen. And I watched Derek Jeter's entire career. Most of Jeter's career, he's the best Yankee I've seen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. Yeah, you take out obviously Jeter. Again, Judge could fix it in the postseason. He's got time to do that. But yeah, you're talking about regular season. Judge is, the best Yankee I've seen. Jeter's unbelievable. So clutch in the postseason. but yeah, I'm with you, Judge. He's getting better with age. At some point, this contract's not going to age well, but he's continuing to get better, and you kind of just gotta, you can't take what he's doing for granted, because at some point it's going to go south. But he's been unbelievable. And what he does at kind of is at his size too. He's been unbelievable Yankee, and hopefully one of these years they can find a way to get him a ring before it's all said and done. He can go into Mining Park with a ring.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening there. But before we wrap up talking about the Yankees, they got a series with the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs come in to Yankee Stadium for a 3-game set this weekend. And first game, the Yankees got Rendon going. The Cubs haven't named a starter, but they have Igmanaga and Boyd going the next 2 games. But you know what? I'm gonna take the Yankees 2 out of 3 here. I'm gonna take them 2 out of 3. I think they're at home. I think this is a big series. I think you got Fried and Rendon going. I think Rendon's gonna have a bounce back start on Friday night. I think Fried's gonna pitch well on Saturday. They might end up losing the Sunday game, but I'm gonna take the Yankees here. I'm gonna take the Yankees 2 out of 3 over the Cubs. I think the Yankees take this series. I think they take it. I know they haven't been good lately, but I think the Yankees take this series. And the last 2 games have given me some optimism that the Yankees will take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs.
I'm gonna take the Cubs, take 2 out of 3. Boyd's gonna be Matt Boyd's an all-star. Iganaga's had a really good year too. Will Warren, been good. Once in a while, you can't totally trust him. I think Friday's gonna be a bullpen day for the Cubs, so yeah, you gotta win Friday. But even Rondon of late hasn't totally been what he was at the beginning of the year. So I'm a little worried there, but I'm just going to take the Cubs to win 2 out of 3. I still don't think they're going to get much help out of the bullpen this weekend. And I think Boyd and Iganaga are going to be 2 kind of tough ones. So I think Yankees take Friday, but they go down Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. It's a tough series. It's a really tough series. And the Yankees got two tough games coming up. They got the guy making his first start tonight, and they got Stroman going tomorrow. So the Yankees got 2 tough games coming up on their schedule. But yeah, this is definitely a tough series for the Yankees. And you talked about the rest of the month of July for the Yankees. They get a break going to Atlanta early at the beginning of the month. But then yeah, you got those 3 games with the Blue Jays, and then the 3 with the Phillies, and the 3 with the Rays, the 4 with the Rays. But luckily 7 of those 10 are home games. But still, it's going to get tough. It's going to get tough for the Yankees after the All-Star break. I mean, it's tough right now for them because the Mariners are a good team, but it's just going to continue to get tough for the Yankees. So the Yankees, they got to continue to hit and keep getting good starts, especially from the top of the rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be tough. I know, I'm still a little bit worried going to late. I know they're out of it, but it's still a Braves team that does have some championship pedigree in there. The Phillies are up and down this year, but yeah, it's not gonna get any easier here after the All-Star break. Tampa Bay with 4, they always play the Yankees tough. Toronto's got no fear against them either. So, the Cubs are, you're playing a lot of good teams, and then even go to beginning of August, the Marlins are playing really well. You should win 2 or 3. Texas, who knows? But then you got Houston too. So, next month or so, there's not a lot of, easy kind of get right series here. So yeah, that's why I'm a little worried, because how quickly can they get the rotation of bullpen healthy? Because there's some good lineups where like guys like Stroman, I don't really feel great when he's tried out on that mound right now, because again, he doesn't have the velocity to get by, throw by guys. So that's why I'm still kind of worried. So we'll see if they can get help as quickly as possible here.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll end up seeing. We'll see what happens with the Yankees right now. 3.5 games behind the Blue Jays, the red hot Blue Jays. 3.5 games behind, but still a lot of baseball to be played. But talking about hot teams, the Red Sox have won 5 in a row. I know they're not beating the. I know the teams they're playing. They swept a team that just fired their GM and their manager, and now they've won 2 games against the worst team in baseball. But they've won 6 of 7 because they took 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati at Fenway last week. So I think the big question for the Red Sox is have they turned a corner? Are we buying them right now? 48 and 45, are we buying that the Red Sox, are going to be in this at the trade deadline? Are we buying that they're going to be in it at the deadline? And for me, I'm still going to say no. I'm still going to say no because even though they are, if you look at where they are in the wild card, even though they're only a game behind the Mariners for the second wild card, I'm still not buying it. And the reason why I'm not buying it for the Red Sox is I look at that they got a big 4-game series this weekend at Fenway against the Rays. And then you look at their schedule, and we talked about the tough schedule the Yankees have in July. The Red Sox schedule coming out of the All-Star break is absolutely brutal. 3 at Wrigley, 3 in Philly, and 3 in LA. Those are arguably not only the 3 best teams in the National League, those are arguably the 3 best teams in baseball. They got 9 games against coming out of the All-Star break. So it is imperative for the Red Sox to at least get a split here against the Rays to kind of to stay in it, because they have a brutal stretch for coming out of the All-Star break. A brutal stretch coming out of the All-Star break. So yeah, I know they've won 5 in a row, and I know their offense has been excellent during this win streak. They've been excellent, and guys have hit. I mean, Story's been red hot. You had that huge night Willer Abreu had. Raphael is starting to hit too. Roman Anthony, that looks like a good Roman Anthony's been getting hot. So the offense has definitely gotten hot. But the big question is going to be for them is how are they going to do in that stretch in late July? How are they going to do? Are they going to fall apart, or are they going to continue to keep this thing going to where they're in it at the trade deadline? So we'll see what happens there. But right now, even though they won 5 in a row and they're only a game behind the Mariners for the second wild card, I still don't think they're going to be in it come trade deadline time.
Yeah, that 9-game stretch there is going to be difficult. Or that 9-game set coming out of the All-Star break is going to be very telling to the organization about buying and selling. I'm gonna say I'm gonna start buying in. I know the competition hasn't been great for them of late, but they're taking care of business against the teams that you got to, and the rotations look better. Like outside of Bueller, the other, Giolito's been really good. Bayo goes, complete game last night. Crochet's been good all year. He's in the Cy Young category, talks. I think they're hoping to get Hunter Dobbins back. He's gonna start probably one of the games against the Rays upcoming here. So, and then they got Yoshida back last night. He can add, and they've been throwing him at first. He's been taking reps at first, down the minor. So, he'll probably play some first base at some point. So I'll start buying into him. A lot of those younger guys are starting to really step up and play well here. So I'm gonna take them. I think the team right now playing with a lot of confidence, and I think they ride the ship, and they stay in it here the next couple of weeks. And I think it's imperative. I think Bledsoe has to go out and buy and help put a playoff team on the field.
And with them being in it, if they're in it, he absolutely has to buy, because you saw what he did in June trading Devers. That was not a popular move, but the way it's looking, the offense has been really good. And Roman Anthony has been a nice pick. It's been bringing him up as recently. He's been hitting the ball really well. So, and the team's been hitting. So it's not like they've missed Rafael Devers. So if they're in it, absolutely they have to buy. They absolutely have to buy. Maybe add another arm to the rotation, another bat in the lineup. So they absolutely have to buy. Breslow has to buy, and I think he definitely has to do more. They did. They added last trade deadline. They didn't add a ton. I feel like they really have to add if Red Sox fans are going to take Bledsoe seriously, especially if they're in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big kind of next couple of weeks for that franchise and the direction they're going. And he's got to buy right now. Or buy. Hopefully they're in that spot for them that they can go out there and where again they have money on the books. Taking off the books now with Devers being gone, so they got money to spend. And it's going to be huge for them to go out and go get another arm. I don't, Kyle Harris, the guy that they got from San Fran. I haven't heard much on him, but I would assume at some point they're going to call him up. I think they're kind of working on some things down there in Worcester with him, but so maybe that might kind of correlate with the guy that they want for another arm, but we'll see. So they got to buy. They're going to have to buy. They're their lineup's in pretty good shape right now, and it's maybe another bullpen guy, but their bullpen really hasn't been a big problem either of late.
No.
For the most part, most that's kind of been another surprise too. That was kind of beginning of the year, but big question mark. But they've been really good, and Chapman. Yeah, Chapman made the All-Star game, and he's been awesome at the closer role for him this year.
Yeah, listen, you give Breslow credit. He has made good moves. I mean, Bregman, before he got hurt, he was playing really well. Crochet, they basically traded for an ace. He's been their ace this year. And then Chapman's been a really, really good pickup for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bregman's making good progress too. So maybe I don't know directly like right after the All-Star break, but at some point during that 9-game stretch, they could get Bregman back. So that'd be huge to get him back, a veteran guy in that lineup. So that could be kind of huge boots here in the next couple of weeks too for him. So yeah, Bregman's been a good signing. Crochet too's been kind of guy that's gonna be in the Cy Young running. So yeah, Breslo's done a good job, and go back to kind of Bloom too did a good job Valley, because a lot of these young guys now kind of showing that they could be major leaguers. I get it with him, but he did a really good job with that farm system.
Again, Bloom was not a good GM for Boston because he was too worried about even the farm system has been, as we've seen this year.
Yeah.
The younger guys have played well. Bloom was not a good GM for Boston because he spent no money and he traded a franchise player away, and then he let another really good player walk. So he was not good for Boston. But overall, he did keep the prospects, and the prospects have worked out. I'll give him that.
Yeah, they have. He'll be taking over St. Louis next year too. He's
really?
Yeah. He's been named the guy for next. So we'll see if he can continue, because St. Louis needs some help in their farm system. So he's a good addition for them. But I get it. I think some of that too with the ownership, they want to spend money too, but because they kind of figured Bloom would help the farm system and they could kind of build it this way too. But Breslow, I think's done a good job with some of these moves. Obviously, the Devers one's a big kind of they could have got a lot more for him. But it's a team with Cora too. Maybe it's not one of his best years as a manager, but I think he's doing a good job with some of these young guys, and I think a lot of them right now are playing with a ton of confidence. And that helps when you're playing teams like Washington and Colorado, but that could carry on this week against Tampa Bay, and that stretch of day coming up right after the All-Star break.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they do. We've talked about that tough stretch for the All-Star break, but I think their tough stretch begins on Thursday. It begins tomorrow as the Rays come into Fenway for a 4-game set with the Red Sox. The Rays lead the Red Sox. They're a game and a half. The Rays have the Rays have, I think that's the second wild card spot behind the Yankees. So they're the second wild card behind the Yankees right now, and the Red Sox are only a game and a half behind them. And they'll head into Fenway, and you look at the matchup. You got Buehler against Bradley. Rasmussen pitches on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday you got Crochet and you got Bello. So I think it's going to be a split. I think the Rays win the Rasmussen start, and they win the game that Buehler pitches. But I think Crochet wins his start, and I think that Bello wins his start, because the Rays are a team that's playing a little bit over their head. As you've seen, they're a team that's played a little over their head. So, and a lot of people didn't think the Rays were going to be, they thought they were going to be a last place team this year. So the Rays have played a little bit over their head. I think it's a split this week. I think it's a split. And the Red Sox, they got to get a split here. Because they're not going to. They'd be lucky if they go 500. They'd be happy if they go like 4-5 or 5-4 in the 9-game stretch they have after the coming out of the All-Star break. So this has got to be. I feel like at home against Tampa, this has got to be a split for the Red Sox, or even them winning 3 out of 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I think they do end up getting this. They do split this week with Tampa.
Yeah, we might have lost. We might have lost Justin there. It looks like he's. We might have lost Justin there. But what Justin was saying was they might end up splitting with Tampa in that series. And this is definitely this is a big week for the Sox. The Sox have to get the job done here. They have to. It's a big week for them. So we'll end up seeing what happens there with them. So we'll end up seeing what happens with the Red Sox there. But we got to get to more news in the Nationals. On Sunday they fired manager Dave Martinez and Mike Rizzo. Not a total surprise that they fired both of them. Not a complete surprise that they're not a total surprise, because the team has had 6 straight losing seasons. I mean, they've had 6 straight losing seasons. It's not been good ever since they won that World Series. I mean, Rizzo's been there forever. Rizzo has been there since 2009, so he's been there forever. And he was there, and in the Bryce Harper years when they couldn't get over the hump. When they lost that that game in St. Louis, and they lost that series in St. Louis. They had the lead going to the ninth inning. They kept losing the first round series, 2014 to the Giants, 2016 to the Dodgers, 2017 to the Cubs. So he was there when they lost a lot of those series. But Rizzo was there in 2019. So was Davey Martinez. He took over in 2018. But again, when you've seen what's happened with the Nationals, they've just been god awful. They've just been awful since they won the World Series. I mean, losing season in 2020, losing season in 2021, and they started to tear the team apart there because they ended up trading Kyle Schwarber, and they ended up trading Max Scherzer. And then you look at I think they traded Trey Turner as well. And then you look at 2022 when they end up trading Juan Soto. Now, the return of the Juan Soto trade was great, as they got C.J. Abrams, and they ended up getting James Wood in that deal, and Mackenzie Gore. And then they had a couple losing seasons this year, and then in 23 and 24. But 25, they expect to be competing for a second wild card. They've done anything but that. They've been in last place. So I think it was time. I think it absolutely was time for the Nationals to make this move. It was definitely absolutely time. It's a little weird. The time's a little weird because the draft, they have the number 1 pick, and the draft is on Sunday. So a little bit weird there, but still, you knew this move was probably coming at the end of the year. It's really not a surprise to me. It's not really a surprise to anyone. And I think it was time. I think it was time that they made this move, because right now Martinez wasn't getting. There was no more excuses for Martinez. There was no more excuses. After 21, we tore the team apart. After 22, we traded Juan Soto. The excuses were over. It's your first full season with James Wood, and you weren't in the race, so the excuses were over. So they need to make that move. They absolutely needed to make that move. So the Nationals going forward, weird timing of that move, but we'll see what ends up happening there. We'll absolutely see what ends up happening in Washington going forward. And they moved on from both of those players. But the All-Star Game starters were announced on Sunday. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friend. Before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friends at JPEG. We're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEG's Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEG's Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, Call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty. Justin is back with us on his phone. He's back. He got back with us. So the question is here is we got the All-Star game. We just did the Nationals. We just did David Martinez. So the All-Star game starters were announced on Sunday. And to me, not really a ton of surprises. I mean, if you look at the American League starters, you got the guys you need. You got Judge. You got Judge. You got a couple Tigers in there with Baez and Riley Green. You got Gleyber Torres too, which is surprising. He's starting the All-Star game. You got Cal Raleigh, Vlad Guerrero. You got Jacob Wilson, Jose Ramirez. So no real surprises there. And the National League look at the starters with Freeman, Will Smith, Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Lindor, Machado. No real surprises there either. But I think there were some snubs. The biggest one to me is Seiya Suzuki. How the heck does Seiya Suzuki not make the All-Star game? I mean, the guy says he leads the league in RBIs, 75 RBIs. Guy leads the league in RBIs. I don't get how Seiya Suzuki is not an All-Star. I know he's got Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker for protection, but how the hell is he not an All-Star? That's crazy. To me, that's crazy. And I think Soto – I mean, I know Soto's not a great year, but Soto should have at least been a reserve for me. Soto should have at least been an All-Star. And another guy I think should have been an All-Star is Framber Valdez because that Astro rotation has been carrying this team. The Astros don't have as good of an offensive team as they used to have. To me, the rotation has carried this team so far. So those are my big three snubs: Valdez, Soto, and Suzuki.
Yeah, those are the top three guys I had too. Seiya Suzuki leads the MLB in RBIs, and for him not to be in the All-Star game is a little head scratching. Soto too. And I don't know when the players vote because I know like Soto first couple months really struggled, but last month really came on and is now, really sort of looked like the guy that we've seen in the past. And Framber Valdez too, like his ERA was like a 4.39 in May. And since then he's in like the 2. So I even thought Cody Bellinger should have probably made it on instead of Julio Rodriguez because Bellinger has been bad in like about 300 since like April, since he came back from food poisoning. So even him, like I thought, you could make the argument too was snubbed as well. So there's a couple that good ones. I kind of agree, and I would just add kind of the Bellinger one too. I thought he was a little bit more deserving than Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think good point there. Bellinger says it's a pretty good year. He's had a pretty good year, not great year, but he's had a pretty good year for the Yankees. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I would say that's definitely a snub there. I would definitely say that one was Julio. The weird part of the Yankees is Bellinger made it, but Bellinger didn't make it, but Jazz Chisholm did.
Yeah. That he wasn't gonna make it in. Because he's been really, really good, and maybe if he's stuck at second all year, if he's kind of kept him there, maybe he's a starting second baseman over Gleyber. And Gleyber's had an unbelievable year, and his strikeouts are down, and his walk rate's up, and the guy actually has a 2-strike approach. So look what happened to actually leave the Yankees organization too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Gleyber Torres, you got to give him credit. He's had a really good year. Gleyber Torres had a really good year with the Tigers, and the Tigers deservedly so. I mean, having 3 starters in the All-Star game. I mean, having Javi Baez, he's had a career resurgence. Javi Baez has had a resurgence, and then you obviously have Riley Green, who's had a great year.
Yeah, those two have been good, and their line has been kind of solid. I know their rotation with Scooble at the top, but yeah, Riley Green's had a really good year. Gleyber's been a nice pickup for him, and kind of taking a chance with him with a 1-year contract, and and Javi Baez has really kind of figured it out this year, playing center field, and he's looked healthy this year, and he's kind of looked like the guy that you saw in Chicago for so many years. So, good for him to kind of see him have a resurgence and having a good year. So, yeah, it's a big part of why the Tigers right now are right there in the top of the American League.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Tigers have had a great year. Having those, what they're doing at the All-Star game, having all these guys at the Scooble, obviously. I mean, I would have liked to see another pitcher. I think that's another snub for the Tigers. They don't really have another pitcher. They really didn't have another pitcher there. Because Casey Mize had a really good year. I know Flaherty's been a little bit down, but Riley Olsen and Casey Mize, they've had good years. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't get another pitcher in there.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, because their rotation's been a huge part why they could make a run in October this year. Yeah, because Olson's had I know he's missed a couple of starts. I don't know, maybe that's the reason why. But yeah, Flaherty's been bit down, but he's still been solid. And Casey Mize he's finally kind of looked like the number one overall pick from a couple of years ago, and he's been banged up throughout his young career. But yeah, he's played pretty well too. So I'm with you. I'm kind of surprised another one of those starters didn't get on, but I think maybe that's sometimes you know everybody's got to be represented, and maybe that's where they kind of got the short end of the stick there. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they should have got one more guy on the one more of those pitchers in the All Star game.
Yeah, and you talk about everybody got the Shane Smith. You got to have the White. You have to have a guy from the White Sox, or Shane Smith made it. Munoz from the Mariners. I don't know if he. I think I would have liked to have seen another starter from the Tigers. The Tigers, to me, should be the favorite to go to the World Series in the AL. I would have liked to have seen another starter there from the Tigers.
Yeah, me too. Because I know like the Mariners, you got Raleigh, Rodriguez in there, Wu, and with Munoz too. Like, do the Mariners really deserve that 4 guys in the All Star game? I don't really think so.
No.
I think all 3. So yeah, I agree. I think the Tigers should have got another one in there. It could have been one of those starters. So I think Wu's had a pretty good year. Obviously Raleigh, but Munoz or Rodriguez, they kind of feel like one of those guys. You probably could have left out and put somebody else in there. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, I agree there. I think there should have been more representation from the Detroit Tigers. And if I look at the All-Star game pitchers from the National League, I would have liked to. I know Yamamoto. I look at the NL. A lot of that makes sense. A lot of what's happening in the NL. I don't really have a ton of complaints from the NL in terms of guys who got left off, especially with the pitching. Yes, as we said earlier with the position guys, Suzuki's ridiculous. Seiya Suzuki's absolutely that to me that's absolutely absurd. She should have absolutely been on this roster. I think that's just flat out ridiculous. If you look at some of the reserves in the National League, you're telling me that Brendan Donovan. I know Brendan Donovan has said it's good of a year. You're telling me that Matt Olson or even Antonio Schwartz, he's had a really good year, but they've had as good of a year as him? Absolutely not. I think it's complete nonsense that Seiya Suzuki got. I don't really have any complaints with who made it and who didn't in the NL.
Yeah, I don't have too many either. Yeah, I'm with you with Suzuki. I think that was the big one that was kind of left off, but I think the rest of them, yeah, you maybe could have made the argument for Donovan not to be there. But yeah, I think pretty solidly, I think most of them pretty much deserved it. I think Soto probably could have got on there as well. But yeah, again, another kind of case of even though the Rockies, it's Hunter Goodman who does deserve to be. I know the Rockies stink, but 16 home runs and 70 RBIs as a catcher is pretty good. But yeah, Seiya Suzuki, the guy leading Major League right now in RBIs isn't in there. It's very puzzling, and I can't imagine that's ever happened before. Maybe it has, but I don't remember that happening in recent years. So that one is kind of the big one for me.
Yeah. Suzuki's the big one. Suzuki to me is ridiculous. He's got to get voted in somehow because there's no way. I know he's got protection with Kroll, Armstrong, and Tucker. I get it, but still, that's the one that has to happen. He definitely needs to be an all-star. He definitely needs to be. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, absolutely absurd that he's not an all-star. So we'll see what happens. We'll be recapping the all-star game, the home run derby, the first half of the baseball season. Next week, we'll be doing all that on next week's show. But we're going to wrap up talking about the NBA, and Paolo Banchero gets his, rookie max extension from the Orlando Magic. And for me, no surprise, lock up your best player. You've got Desmond Bain, you got Franz Wagner. But here's the thing. Now you got to become a perennial all-star. You got to become a perennial all-star. You got to become a better three-point shooter. You're going to get paid that kind of money now. You got to become a perennial all-star, and you got to lead your team to playoffs, especially this year. If the Magic don't win a playoff series this year, it's going to be very disappointing because to me, they're a top 3 team in the East going into the next season with the Cavs and the Knicks. So if they don't win a playoff series, it's very, very disappointing. So Paolo you got your money now, Paolo. Now it's playoff series.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Because you mentioned next year how wide open it is in the Eastern Conference with Celtics being banged up, with the Pacers kind of going through, with no Halliburton next year. Yeah, it'd be pretty disappointing next year if Orlando would not win a first round game at least. Ben Carroll, I know he only played 46 games this year, but had his career high in scoring, and rebounds. They kind of got their core of Suggs, Wagner, Bain, and now Ben Carroll. So they got a good young core, and now can they take that next step and be a top tier contender in the East? We'll kind of see. I think Bain's going to help their shooting because that's been their biggest weakness the last couple of years in the playoffs is their inability to shoot the 3-pointer efficient enough in the playoffs. So, and Big Hero, this year's only 32%. You'd like to see that tick up a little bit from them. But yeah, it's a good kind of solid core that they got. And yeah, they got to now take the next step and kind of be in the top half of the Eastern Conference to definitely win a series next year.
Yeah, they have to be. They have to be. They have to be. Or honestly, a change has to be made. A change has to be made with the roster. Or a change, it's got to be made with the head coach, with Jamal Mosley. A change has to be made. This team with the money they're giving Paolo, this team needs to get to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with the Eastern Conference, with the shape it's in right now. They have the semifinal round next year. They should be probably like a 3-4 seed, at the lowest right now. So they should have home court in that first round matchup. And it's a team that they're good defensively, but can they knock down the 3-point shot? And hopefully Desmond Bain could provide that for them. And Wagner, I know was banged up, both of them were banged up this year. So hopefully, next year they're healthier. And that could help too. So the big thing with them, I wouldn't be surprised either they shook things up. They got knocked out again in the first round.
Yeah. You wouldn't be surprised, but they need that. I think honestly, they need to be in the second round. To me, they need to be in the second round of the playoffs. So we'll wrap up though talking about Tyrese Halliburton, and the Pacers president announced on Monday he is out for the season. No surprise, tore his Achilles, out for the year. And the Pacers are. It's gonna be a total. I mean, I know Carlisle's a really good coach, but it's going to be a totally different Pacer team because they lost Miles Turner too to the Bucks. So it's going to be a totally different Pacer team next year. I mean, you're going to still have Nembhard and Nesmith and Pascal Siakam. It's going to have to be the guy, but this is going to be a completely different. Matherin's probably not going to start, so it's going to hurt their depth. This is going to be a completely different Pacer team going into next season. Because even if Halliburton was healthy, they probably would not. They would not be better than the Knicks. They probably wouldn't be better than the Cavs because they lost Miles Turner. They lost one of their better players. So this is a completely different Pacer team going into this season, and it's the Pacer team that's going to be lucky to make it into the playoffs. It's going to be, they'll probably make the play-in tournament because the East is weak, but this is a Pacer team to be lucky to get a 7 or 8 seed because of the losses they have had this offseason.
Yeah, it's been tough, and I know Indiana's got to be disappointing because I know that ownership group. They've owned it, I think, for about 20 years. They've never gone over the luxury tax, and that was a big part of why they didn't want to re-sign Turner. And it's kind of frustrating that you're on the doorstep and you got to Game 7 and you don't re-sign one of your kind of starters and one of your top players in the roster. It's got to be a little bit disappointing. But yeah, next year's gonna be a retool year. It's probably gonna be playing. Yeah, I think they're gonna be in the play-in more than likely. Maybe they get out of it, get a 7 or 8 seed, but they'll get bounced to whoever they play in the first round. So. Yeah, as we told about Halliburton, you mentioned it too. It's a good point. Their depth's going to be kind of hurt. The guy they drafted out of Liberty, I was stunned was even drafted. I can't remember his name, and I don't know if I'm going to get kicked if I try to look up his name here. So, he's an unbelievable shooter. He can't do much else, and they drafted him at 50th overall. So, I don't think that guy's going to come in and play much at all for you next year. So yeah, I just it's got to be unfortunate for how good of a year it was. The kind of next year you're going to take a couple steps back, and without signing Turner, they really haven't made too many moves this offseason here. So yeah, it's got to be frustrating. It's going to be a retooling year for the Pacers.
It definitely has to be. Seeing what's happened in the last 2 years. I mean, don't forget. Everybody thinks, they made this crazy run to the finals. It was because they were the number 4 seed. But people forget they got to the conference finals the year before and very easily could have won game 1 of the conference finals too. And after game 2, Halliburton gets hurt. They won a game 7 at Madison Square. They won a game 7 at Madison Square Garden the year before to get to the conference finals. So they were in the conference finals the year before, lost, got swept to the Celtics, and this year they take the next step, get to the NBA finals. So it is a little bit frustrating. It's going to be a retooling year where you thought during the NBA finals, you're thinking, all right, they're the favorite to get here next year because they're probably going to re-sign Miles Turner. They're probably going to have Tyrese Halliburton. But neither of those players are going to be on the team next year, so it's just going to be completely different.
Yeah, it is. And, see, guy comes in have to be the vocal point of that offense, but I think he's capable of doing, but, he doesn't have Tyrese Halliburton next to him or even Turner. So, next year the game plan a lot is going to be kind of to shut down Siakam and make sure he doesn't beat you. So, yeah, they're going to need some other guys next year to really step up around him. Help out. And yeah, it's got to be frustrating, especially losing Turner 2 to your division rival and the team that you knocked out in the first round this year. So, yeah, it's got to be frustrating that fan base that the ownership group won't get over that luxury tax and won't spend to try to get this team to that next step of hopefully winning a title. So, yeah, it's be frustrating, and guys around are going to have to step up. And, it's going to, we'll see what they kind of do the remainder of the offseason, but it's been pretty quiet on their front.
It definitely has been. So that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with RJ. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week recapping the All-Star game, recapping the Home Run Derby, and recapping the first half of the baseball season and talking about any NBA or NFL news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Burn, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.